In this lesson, we're going to talk about function notation, and then we're going to talk about how to evaluate functions with graphs. Before we talk about function notation, let's review what a function is. In the math world, a function is a rule that pairs each input with exactly one output. These rules can be equations, graphs, maps, ordered pairs, or tables. There's a lot of different ways to represent a function. Y equals 5x is an example of a function because it pairs every x with exactly one y. For x is 1, y is 5. For x is 2, y would be 10. For x is 3, y would be 15 by that rule. Another way to express the equation is to use function notation. In function notation, f of x, or it could be g of x, or y of x, or m of x, this notation right here replaces the y as the notation which represents the output.
Function notation is a way to write functions that's easy to read and understand. So this is the way that we write functions right here. G is the name of this function. This letter in here tells us what we will input values for. In this case, we're going to input values for x. It's important to recognize that this does not mean g multiplied by x. G of x is one concept altogether. So if you see two letters and one of them's in parentheses and it's next to an equal sign, we're talking function notation. We read this g of x. So whatever this letter is of x. Evaluating a function means finding a value in the range for a given value from the domain. So the function f of x equals 4x minus 2 will take a value x and change it into 4x minus 2. So here's an example. Evaluate f of x equals 4x minus 2 for x equals 0, 1, and 2. So what we're going to do is these are our input values, 0, 1, and 2, and we're going to find 3 separate output values. So we write it like this. F of the 0 is going to take the place of all of the x's. This you don't do anything with. It just says the function, when we put 0 in, gives us 4 times 0 minus 2. So 4 times 0 is 0, minus 2 is negative 2. So you just use order of operations and calculate this. That's all you do. So what this does is it pairs 0 with negative 2. 0 is my input, negative 2 is my output. Do the same thing for 1. I'm just going to replace the x with 1, all of the x's with 1. Following order of operations, that pairs 1 with 2. And finally, we're going to do it for 2. Again, following order of operations, multiplication comes first. So 2 is paired with 6. 0, 1, and 2 are my inputs. Negative 2, 2, and 6 are my outputs. Use the graph to find f of 3. So remember, this is going to be x. That's my input. I want to find the output. So I go to 1, 2, 3. So this is tricky because this is going by halves. So that's 1, and this would be 3. And then we're going to go all the way up to the graph to figure out what the output would be there. And the output is 12. So f of 3, according to this graph, is 12. So there's some unknown equation that we don't have that we can put 3 in that will give us 12 out, because that's where it is on the graph. And hopefully now you have a little bit better understanding of function notation.